Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to cover how to do a quick oil change on the 2022 Turbo R that I have behind me here. I also want to cover how to change the rear transmission fluid on it, some of the tools that you need to get this job done, also the parts that I purchased for this. I like to go with Polaris OEM product. It comes with the exact amount of fluid that you need. It also comes with the filter too, so it makes it a very seamless process. I'm also going to go over some of the things that I like to do prior to going on a ride. So I'll be checking the belt and also ensuring that everything else is snug and ready to ride. Before we get started, we would really appreciate it if you can go and hit that subscribe button down here and hit the like on this video. We really appreciate that. Also, we just dropped some new merch, so go ahead and find our online store in our bio and get yourself some. We'll be dropping new stuff in the upcoming weeks, so please go ahead. We really appreciate the support. Very basic tools that are needed here. So you're gonna need a 3/8 drive. I would also recommend having an extension for that drive itself. You're gonna need a number 8 hex head. You're also gonna need a number 6 and a T40 Torx bit. That Torx bit is gonna be utilized to take off the rear bed. Also gonna be utilized to take off some of the plastics. So the 8mm hex head is going to be utilized for the rear gear case. Also, we are gonna be utilizing that 6mm hex head for the oil drain on the pan itself. I do recommend having 2 different types of funnels. So the extension funnel is great for adding oil into the rear gear case, and then the short funnel is awesome just to be adding oil into the engine itself. Then if anybody is wondering what belt, I do run the Polaris OEM belts. So this one is for the Turbo R. I'll go ahead and drop the part numbers for all of these parts in the description of the video so you guys have those. So we're gonna start this process by tearing apart the rear bed, taking out anything that you guys have in there. I currently have the 2 Polaris lock and rides on the rear, so I'm gonna take those out and then take the bed out so we can access the top of the motor to add the oil. So once we have the bed removed, we're gonna go ahead and just drain the oil out of the bottom of the pan, make sure that everything comes out, then we'll go ahead, tighten it back up and throw some oil in it. This one, you're gonna utilize the 6mm hex head, the extension, and the 3/8 drive. So now that all the oil is drained out of the bottom of the oil pan, we're gonna go ahead and put the plug back in. Also make sure that the washer did pop off of the pan itself. Sometimes they get warm, they stick to the bottom. Make sure it drops off because we are going to be installing the new one that comes with your kit. Throw that on with it and then tighten it up. Since we're already under the car, let's just go ahead and drain the rear gear case fluid. So for this, we're going to be using that 8mm. Also going to be using our extension on our 3/8 drive. And this is the furthest back drain plug underneath the belly of the pan here. Front one here is going to be for oil, rear is going to be for your gear case. So when you pull your rear gear case plug out, you just want to inspect it. There's a magnet that actually sits on the top of here. So any sort of shards regarding the metal that's coming off of the teeth themselves will get caught here. Just do a quick inspection to make sure there's nothing severe in there. And then just wipe that down and then throw it back in. So now that we have our fluid drained in the rear gear case, along with the oil out of the pan, we're gonna go ahead and add the oil back to the engine, and then we'll work our way back to the rear of the car and we'll be adding it to the gear case. We're also going to be changing the oil filter too, so I'll be showing you that as well. So now that we're in the engine compartment of the car, we have the entire trunk out of it. We're just gonna go ahead and add the oil that comes in our kit straight to the top of the motor here. So this is gonna be our engine oil cap. We're just gonna take that off, set that aside, and then we're gonna go ahead and grab our large funnel and start pouring in 3 quarts. ahead and remove this. We'll throw this cover back on, ensure that it's locked, and then we're gonna go to the oil filter. So now that we went ahead and changed the oil in the car, we are just gonna go ahead and change the oil filter. That oil filter is located on the driver's side of the motor on the rear here. You can reach in, go ahead and put your hand in there. Most of the time you do not need a filter wrench, but sometimes you do. I haven't had to use one just yet, so I've been able to twist them off with my hand. But once that old filter is out, we'll just go ahead and grab our new filter. I like to just throw a little bit of oil on the ring here, just ensure it has a tight seal when I thread it back on. And I just thread it just beyond hand tight. So you wanna have it on there pretty good, but you don't wanna have it to the point where you're gonna have to sit there with a wrench and try and pop it off. Also, a lot of guys like to pre-fill the filters. This filter kind of sits on its side pointing down on the front of the motor. So I usually don't fill it. I've never really had an issue with it. If you want to, go ahead, but you're gonna leak oil putting it in. So now we're gonna be adding the oil back to the rear gear case. We're gonna go ahead and back out this 8mm bolt here. And then from there, we are going to grab that extended funnel like I showed you. And then we're gonna be adding oil into that until we start to see it seep out of the bottom of the hole. Once you see that that is leveled out here, I like to just rock the machine just to see that the fluid is weeping out at the bottom. Once we're squared away on that, we're gonna go ahead and tighten that rear bolt and we're gonna call it good on the rear case. I like to just go ahead and look at the belt that's currently on the car. Something that I really like to check between like every other ride. We're running these things pretty hard, so when it comes down to these belts being in good shape, we really rely on it. One thing that we're looking for when we're inspecting these belts, we want to ensure that there's no glazing on the belts. When I say glazing, you would easily start to identify that you're going to see more of like a shiny surface on the side of these belts. Also, we want to make sure that there's no teeth or grooves that are popped out, ripped, any sort of cuts in between. So just go ahead. You can kind of work it a little bit here just to ensure that there's no issues. This belt, you can tell it's getting down to its mark here. We're starting to see some signs of wear in between the grooves. We're also starting to see that this belt has a little bit of glazing. So sometimes when that happens is you'll start to see clutches. If you're jumping these rigs, they get really hot in between those clutch faces and they'll start to skip. And that could cause some glazing between your belt. Another thing we want to just visually inspect, we want to make sure that the outside of this belt, there's no issues either. So there's no cracks. There's nothing that's coming off on the side of these ribs, and there's no fraying going on with the belt. So if everything looks good, go ahead and throw that back on. We also like to make sure that part number itself is facing you when you are putting it back on the machine. Starting with the primary and then going over to the secondary. Thanks again for watching our video, guys. We really appreciate when you guys do subscribe. Go ahead, check out the merch. Please feel free to leave a comment in the video. Let us know if you want to see anything specific. We do have the Turbo R here, but we have a couple other cars in the fleet. Please let me know if you want to see something that will help your day-to-day mechanical life be easier for these cars. Thanks again.